man up, and men's ministry training director for Iron Sharpens Iron, and not going to go through all of that. But one of the things that I absolutely love is to help churches build a dynamic ministry to men, okay, and one that's effective. And so today we got a list from y'all yesterday, from last week, and I just want to take a few minutes and just talk about some different things that was on the list. So I went through and I put the list in somewhat kind of an order. So one of the top things that was on the list, and I don't know if y'all have a problem with it, is your pastor involved in your men's ministry? Is he with you, or do you have to? Is it like pushing uphill?
I can go first if you like. I have a bit of a unique situation in that we have a fairly new pastor. He started about a little over 2 years ago, and we had a strong men's ministry at the time. He came in and we began kind of focusing on younger families because we were an older church, and in the process I lost a lot of our guys, most of them older guys. They left the church, and so we're in a transition. I'm thankful for our senior pastor's support. I think he does support us, but it's just been a real trying time in regards to watching these old guys kind of leave and trying to build from scratch, really almost all over again.
Right. Okay. Anybody else?
Well, I could tell you about our church. We've also got a pastor that's fairly new. Probably maybe going on 4 years now. But our men's ministry is just, there is none. And our church is going through I won't get into that, but a very, very difficult time. We've lost so many people from our church this last year. It's ridiculous.
Okay.
And so my passion is, I've done a Wild at Heart study for 12 years, and I do it once a year, sometimes twice a year. And my ministry is for just the rough, nasty, mean, angry guys, and that's where my ministry's at. So really getting into the churches, I do it, and I've done Wild at Heart studies with the church, but I just do not. They already know it all already, and they're the most posers of them all. But our church is, we don't. He would support. He's the type of a shepherd that would say, "Yeah, just do what you want."
Okay.
And I've set up. We had a sportsman banquet I put together last year. I was expecting 30, 35 guys. We had over 90 guys. So the hunger's there. But it's, and I've went around to all the churches in our area last several years asking about their men's ministry. The best I've got is a men's breakfast once a month.
Right. Yeah.
And so that's where we're at right now.
Okay. Anybody else?
My pastor, he's really good about with us too. I think he basically trusts my decision. I still take stuff to him, like whenever I'm going to go through some new literature or something, I try to present it to him and tell him about it, what I know about it. And he tells me, he says, and every time he says, "Jay, I trust you with that stuff." I was like, I know, but I just want to make sure, I don't want to overstep, because I have in the past had a tendency to overstep what I was supposed to do, and he'll get me for it, as well he should. He's the senior pastor. He's the man God called to be at this church. But and then I get my feelings hurt, and I'll settle up for a little while, and I'll finally get over it, and I'll get back to work again, and make sure I don't do that.
Yeah. So anybody else here, how's your relationship with your pastor with men's ministry?
Go ahead. Here in Yamhill, right now we don't have a pastor, and
that's easy.
This is Jim's home church.
Yeah. Okay.
And we have a real strong men's ministry, 115 families when we had a men's retreat last year, we had almost 50 guys.
Yeah,
So,
that's good.
so and they're all ages. We're getting
Yes,
a lot of younger people at church, got a lot of babies there. I mean, we're growing. We're just looking for a pastor right now. So we're in a holding pattern, but the men's ministry is still going strong.
Yeah, that's good. That's awesome. Yeah. Is anybody else?
Yeah, I was
Before we
going to
move
bring up for my pastor and everything. He comes into our meetings from time to time. Just this last Monday, he was in our Zoom meeting, and he's also been when we were meeting before all this happened. He'd come in and just be with us guys. He enjoys being with us. We enjoy having him there, but he's kind of left it up to us men to organize and put things together. And we just touch base with him, and he kind of lets us do what we're doing. We've got several really gifted guys that are great teachers and a lot of knowledge there, but there's a wide spectrum from very young guys to very elder guys and everything in between.
Is anybody else? I think.
Anybody? McCusker.
Well, gentlemen, I'm Gary in Colorado. I am a pastor. I'm not the senior pastor. I have a real heart for men. I'm on the board for Men in the Arena. I've been passing the baton to one of our younger guys who used to be in my youth group, leading the men's ministry. So I think our pastor, they balance so many different priorities. Right. He'll say, I'm real supportive, but I know that it's not the same thing I have. I feel like the church goes as men go.
Right.
But we keep having to work at that. And I think my brother was saying he got his feelings hurt, and I think I have to work through that too,
Yeah.
We get a little rejection and we go, but the fight is real. And and so we have men's breakfast, but we also have about 7 or 8 men's groups, and we got a mentoring deal. So one of the things that's happened in our area, and John, I'd encourage you this. We have about 6 churches that we meet once a month to talk about best practices. And I've gotten the young pastor who's leading the men's ministry to go that, and he's going, aha, and it's kind of, we really are, and we do a few things together. Like this summer, we'll do in July. We're navigating that happening as we're all trying to figure that out. But we're still meeting Zoom to say, okay, how do we get the best? Because we all believe in the same mission. It's going to improve our community if we rally the men together. So I'm encouraged, but right now I'm just a participant. I'm not the lead.
Yeah.
I'm getting older, so I'm trying to mobilize the young guys.
Yep.
So
that's good. That's good.
I apologize. I just saw this and I said, I'm going to join in for a minute, but I hope I can join the next one with you.
Yep. We're going to move to Tuesdays starting next week. So it'll be Tuesday at 5 East time, and what is it, 2 your time? Is that right? Is that right, Dale?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's 2 o'clock here. It'll be 3 o'clock there. Yeah.
That's 3 o'clock for me.
3 o'clock. Yeah, and 5 for me. Yep. So so we're going to move it to Tuesdays.
Let's pray for each other, man. Thank you guys for what you're doing. Press on.
Yes, sir. All right.
All right. Blessings, guys. Sorry I got to leave.
Take care now. So there's a couple things that I want to kind of hit today is one of the things that we have with pastors. A lot of pastors, they're very frustrated with men's ministry because it keeps getting dumped in their laps. Okay, somebody comes in and says, hey, I want to start, and it gets dumped in their laps, and then things like that. And then the next thing we know is then men's ministry, if it keeps starting and stopping, it's very hard to get going. So one of the things when I'm teaching a men's ministry training or whatever else, I tell them, I always say, go to your men, go to your pastor and say, Pastor, I want to start a men's ministry. I want to do a men's ministry, but I want to start it small and grow it with a few men first. So that way he doesn't think this thing is going to get like this out of hand, and he's going to end up getting frustrated and dumped in his lap again. Sounds like where most of you are at it, you've got a supportive guy. You've got a pastor that's supportive, which is awesome. The next part of that is allow your pastor to be the champion for men's ministry, but allow him to be a man. You know, most pastors today, they're struggling with friends. They just don't have too many friends. And if they do have a friend at some point, he probably got stabbed in the back by something they said. We have two pastors at our church. One pastor, when he walks into the meeting or in anything, the dynamic of the room totally changes. It's because of his makeup, his mentality. It's like he's always scanning. You know what that guy looks like? You know, that guy that is always scanning and just looking for, you know, somebody he can pastor to, you know. Then we have another pastor, when he walks in the room, you just think you wouldn't even know he was a pastor. Okay. When those guys are there, it's amazing of the difference of the dynamic. And we tell our pastors, says, we want you to come and to join us, but we're not going to introduce you as pastor. We're going to introduce you as Mike, as Dave, because this is an opportunity we respect you, but this is an opportunity for you to come and to be a man, because you pour, and now it's a chance for you to come and to hang out and to be a man. And it's just amazing. I did a men's retreat one year, and the pastor was there, and I had talked with him beforehand, and I said, guys, I said, this weekend, okay, this is not Pastor Bill. This is Bill. Okay. And what was amazing is Sunday morning, the whole deal was after the retreat, they were going to go back Sunday morning and share. And this pastor walked up and took his 3 minutes. And this is what he said. He said, this was the first time I got to hang around with men as a man, and I didn't have to be the pastor. I didn't have to put the pastor's hat on. So I just challenge you just to ask, just to allow your pastor to be that champion. You know, men's ministry goes how your pastor goes. If your pastor will get in the pulpit and go, hey guys, men's ministry's having a breakfast. We're going to iron sharpens iron. We're going to do this. Men get behind him, behind that, because he is, I say all the time, you can't mess with a man with the mic. Okay. He's got the mic. Okay. You can't mess with him. He's going to go. But I want to kind of move on to that, because you know, it sounds like y'all are pretty dialed in with your pastors. So I want to do two things here. I want to, first thing, I want to give you permission to do less, but do it better. Okay. We get so caught up in doing so many things in church, in men's ministry, that men's ministry doesn't get the excellence that a lot of other ministries may get. Okay. So when you do something, do it with excellence. Do it as a team. Do it, build teams. We'll talk about teams next week and things like that. But do it with teams. And the second part of that too is start with a few. Okay. Men's ministry, you know, I love the Jesus method of what he did in building a men's ministry. And sometimes I think that we all need to go back to that. All right. He started with a few and he built it out from there. So many times when I go to a church, I've been part of men's ministries where there were 14 people in the church, up to 1,600. Okay. The church that I'm going to now is a large church, is on the 1,600 scale slide. When I went to the church, the pastor came up to me and he says, I understand this is what you do. And I go, yep. And he said, I want you to take 90 days, 6 months, and just get used to the church. Okay. And then what I'd like for you to do is build a men's ministry here. And I said, absolutely, no problem. So at the end of 90 days, I went into his office and we sat and we chatted. And I said, okay, I said, I need your help because I don't know everybody here. Okay. I need 6 men that are prominent men in your church. In this church, I need 6 men. Okay. I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about that guy that knows everybody's name. You know those guys? Those guys, when they pass somebody, you met him 30 minutes ago and he already still remembers your name. And so we got those guys together. We contacted them and said, we're going to build a men's ministry here. We'd like for you to be part of this team. We met in a room for 6 months. All right. Every Sunday morning for 6 months. And we laid the vision. We cast the vision. We planned the vision. We did the whole deal. Okay. So at the end of 6 months, I said, okay, now what I just did with you, I want you to go do with 3 other men. You see how this is working? So I sit in this room, I cast the vision, gave them the tools, and then allowed them to now go do this again. All right. So the pastor would come by me and he would go, hey, he said, when are you going to start men's ministry? I said, it's working. He said, what do you mean? I said, it's working. I said, just let it go. And he said, when can I name you as men's ministry director? I said, you can't, don't, not yet. It's not time. And he said, well, what are you talking about? I said, my whole goal is to never be the guy. My whole goal is to find that guy that's in this church that really has a passion for it so I can walk alongside of him. So we just grew this thing 6 by 3 by 3 by 3 by 3. And then we had an event. And it was funny because the first time we went to an Iron Sharpens Iron event, we won the award. And the pastor comes back and he goes, this is just mind blowing. I said, the problem that we try to do is we try to say, we're going to start a men's ministry. We're going to have a breakfast. We're going to have a bonfire. We're going to have this. And they show up. We don't know what we're going to do with them. Okay. Have a vision, have a plan, have a thought, get this thing down, get your team in place. We're going to really unpack a team next week. So based on what I've said so far, where are we connecting? What do we need to expand on more?
I can tell you when I was youth pastor, I took that same philosophy, absolutely the same philosophy. And, the 1, the 3, the 12, and then we went out from there and it worked very well. For this men's ministry in our church, it would work, but we're struggling so much in our church that, when you feel you lost control, you hold on tighter with control. And that's what's going on right now. And so the ministry I'm doing with men is all on my own. Every bit of it's on my own. It's not through the church. I've made myself available. Anything they need, I'm there. And that's all I'm doing is setting up events. But as far as setting up a growth thing or anything, that's just not going to happen. So it's kind of frustrating, but that's okay. God's got it.
Yeah, and I know your situation. I mean, once everything gets put into place and everything, I think a lot of the control will get released. So it's I ask men's ministries all the time. I said, what is your why? Okay, you got to know your why. Why do we want a men's ministry in our church?
That's exactly right.
If you don't know your why, you'll never be able to build a plan and steps to get to your why.
That's
You know, and so you've got to figure out, you know, what's our why? What are we going to do? And I mean, one of my favorite definitions of a men's ministry is simply one man walking with another man. Whatever that looks like, it's just simply one man walking with another guy and another guy and another guy and another guy. You know, I mean, we're still on lockdown here, and yesterday morning, 6 o'clock, we meet at McDonald's, put the chairs out, leave a parking place empty, and we get together because we've got guys that are they're starving right now. I mean, I got an email from a guy in Albany, New York last night, and he said, "I'm zoomed out, bro." He said, "I don't know what to do." He says, my guys are just have had it. You know, I said, keep the law and do what you can do. Cut the group size down if you need to. You know, do what you can do.
We started having this will be our fourth week this week. I said, heck with it. I started having outdoor church in our backyard with my guys and their families, and it's been going phenomenal. I just couldn't take it anymore.
Yeah, a lot of people are that way, and you know, so you know, like I said, I just really want to start with a few guys, build those guys around you. You know, build different ages, you know, find a 30-year-old, 20-year-old, 30-year-old, you know, build that team, build those guys around you and pour yourself. I told the guys last week that this is a mind-blowing stat that we discovered with Iron Sharpens Iron over the past 2 years, that 63% of millennials are looking for a man 50 years and older in their life.
Absolutely, I believe that.
Okay, and so we have a unique opportunity as guys, that the older guys in our church, the guys that are established, if we can take those guys and say, get over, this is the way it used to be, and pour what used to be into the next generation and the next generation. These young guys, as long as you're giving them a roadmap for life, they love you. They love you. You know, but so many times, and I said this last week, so many times when we meet with another guy, we listen with the intent to reply, not with the intent to hear. So many times we're meeting with a guy and we hear him say something and we want to go into fix mode. You ever been in that mode? I'm going to fix you, bro, you know, or I'm going to pound you, one of the two. You know, I don't know which one I'm going to do yet, but I'm going to do one of the two. The pounding never works, and the fixing you can't do. But our whole role and our whole goal as men, as men's leaders, is to lead our men to Jesus Christ that can change their whole life in a moment. That's our whole role. It is to get them rubbing their lives up against the lives of other men, to get them to go and to grow and to become the fathers, the husbands, the men in the church, the men in the community that we're called to be anyhow. So any comments, thoughts, or anything? What?
You said something interesting to me that I heard this a couple years ago for the first time about millennials, or maybe them and younger generations. Oftentimes their experience with the baby boomers like myself is that the baby boomers are not good listeners. And ever since then, I tucked that into my memory. I want to remember that, and I'm trying to see if it's true. It seems to be true that a lot of guys are not good listeners at our age. So anyway,
they're good listeners, and we preach.
Yeah.
That's on the thing. The big thing that came back is stop preaching to me and talk to me.
Oh, yeah.
That was amazing to me. You know, I just want you to talk with me as another man, that that's trying to get to where you are one day. And I tell you, I mean, the other thing too is this pandemic, we are learning a whole lot about men and finances, willpower, how they handle conflicts. I don't know about where you're at, but our domestic violence is up through tremendously. And it's not domestic violence with the wives, it's domestic violence with the kids. That's the side of it that's way up. So we're really hearing and learning a lot of things through this thing about tools and ways that we can be able to do things. But like I said, I just really want to challenge you guys to look through your church and find 3 to 5 guys that you can say, this is what God has put on my heart. This is what our pastor, we want to build men. How about partner with me and let's do this? I know you're on the outside of it, so you've got a whole different team that's on the outside of the church, But like I said, inside, we can't do men's ministry alone. We've got to stop that. One day you're going to take your last breath, and everything that you have inside of you, we need to pass it down. We need to hand it off. And so I just challenge you here to find some guys that you can say, come with me. Let's partner and let's do this together. I've got a guy, Jack. I never do a group that Jack is not involved. And now we have a guy named Andrew. Okay. Andrew is a 30-year-old. So now when we do a group, Andrew comes into the group, because one day I'm going to be gone. One day Jack's going to be gone. One day Andrew's going to be gone. But hopefully all of this will continue. That's what we're hoping, So, find things, find common ground among some guys and say, hey, come and partner with me. Come and let's do this together. And, I can't, is it John?
John, yeah.
John, yeah. John, you're in a unique situation because you're partnering with outside churches. You're partnering with you're reaching out to other churches. And your situation is man, what would it look like if you just had one guy from 4 different churches?
See, I'm listening to you, and I've been trying to do this for the last 3 years, trying to just for my wild at heart. Yeah. I want somebody, and I don't know how to get that in our church. And I'm not tooting my horn. I promise to God I'm not. But our baptismal for the last 5 years, I'm the only one who's warmed that water up. And the guys that's never stepped foot in church before are now ready to lead their family like God intended. I mean, I could go on, and it's just incredible things that's happened, the way God's blessed us. But to get somebody to walk beside me and say, hey, I want to teach you what I've learned. I don't know how to do it, and I've tried. I've just tried.
And like I said, I mean, there's another guy probably in a church that you just, when you have your meeting, throw it out and say, guys.
Oh, hey, I do all the time. Yeah. I've took guys out, and we'd go up in the hills or go in the boat fishing, and I've talked to them about that. Because there's a couple, 2, 3 of them. I'm convinced they've been in my study, for crying out loud, my Wild Heart study up to 4 times.
Yeah. Well, that's the guy. Like I said, just build a relationship. Keep on building a relationship with them, and all of a sudden, that God will prick them, man. God will get them.
Yeah, it's the church thing. It's just difficult.
Yeah. Oh, it is. It really is. And now, and it's going to be more difficult when we come out of this thing too, because my biggest thing is I think a lot of guys have gotten used to live, Facebook Live, YouTube, whatever it is. They don't have to.
Cave is what you've done.
I
said you've driven them further back into the cave.
Oh my gosh, man. They don't have to get up and they don't have to get the kids dressed. They don't have to comb the hair. They don't have to worship with their family, act like they're worshiping with their family or whatever the case is. They don't have to worry about you coming up and going, hey, would you be interested in serving on a men's ministry team? You know, there's so many things that these guys, man, I mean, a lot of these guys are loving this live stuff because, when church starts back, it's going to be hard.
Well,
So
what I'm finding is the guys that I'm talking with, so many, because they don't have a church background. Many of them don't.
Right.
And their whole walk with God was 4 times a month, at church. They don't have that, and I'm seeing a little bit more drinking going on, as you said, the anger, and it's just a mess what I'm dealing with. I got about a half dozen right now. It's just mess, just absolute mess.
Well, I mean, I can relate to you, John, because I mean, I'll be honest with you, the guy that's been in the church for 50 years, I want the guy that's being hammered, that's being beat, that's being thumped. That's the guy that I was that guy.
Me too.
I was that guy.
Absolutely, I was.
And I was that guy that had me walked into my life one day and he said, I don't care where you've been, I only care where you're going.
Amen.
And he came into my life, and then another guy came into my life, and another guy, and that's why I just really understand. I really get the power of one life, another life, another life, and another life. And when you can get that piece going, the sad part is we all build men's ministry leadership teams, or we do it on our own. And the worst part is we're not teaching this leadership team how to become to each other what we want the whole church of the men to look like. You know, when you start becoming as a leadership team and you start locking arms and locking horns. I did a men's group. It's the most amazing thing I had ever seen in my entire life. Okay. I did a men's group called Boot Camp. Boot Camp is total brutal. Send me an email, send Dale an email. I'll send you the whole boot camp curriculum PDF. Okay. Just send him an email. And we had like 44 men. All right. My mother-in-law passed away. And all of a sudden, there was 40 men appeared in that funeral home. All right. So we had to do 2 funerals because we were going to do one in Richmond and then we had to go do another one that was about 90 miles away. So we did a service in a funeral home. And then the next day we went up to the other place. These guys came walking in, and I'm talking to a different family. And one of the guys waited for a minute and he tapped me on the shoulder. He says, come on. She asked if I would do her service before she passed away. So I'm standing there, and they had the pastor of their church. We felt guilty and had to give him a piece, you know. So they tapped me on the shoulder and said, come on, let's pray. So I went and grabbed the other pastor. And these guys huddled up around us. They had already worked out with the funeral home a room. These guys huddled up around us and they prayed. And the pastor was there with me crying. I mean, I'm not talking about just tears running down his face. I'm talking about crying. And he said, I want that in my church. And I looked at him and I said, then build it in your church. Okay? There's a man in your church that has an arrow in his heart for this. You got to find him. You got to find him. And he said, well, I just don't, it's too much work. And I said, well, I could tell you one thing. If you don't build a men's ministry in your church, one day your church is going to be dead.
That's right.
Okay. That church closed its doors last year because it did not, and he didn't do anything with men. He didn't do anything with anybody, period, from what I found out later. But what I'm saying is it's amazing when you start seeing guys start getting each other's backs. It's amazing.
Can I ask a question about that real quick?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Because I'm trying to put it together outside the church, but trying to put it in my church. And my pastor, again, he said, John, you just do whatever you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm going to do after I'm done, I got 2 more sessions with my Wild at Heart. And then I was going to go, do you guys, any of you men, use that Who's Got Your Sex? Because we were going to go through that because to try and bring some band of brothers together, I was going to go that route. Would you recommend that? You guys use that?
Dusek's good. Dusek's got some good stuff. I mean, you know, I tell you, one of the things that has been amazing to me, and it's so simple that I think that's the problem with it is the 33 series. The 33 series has just had some tremendous things that's happened with it because
I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah, 33 is amazing. It came out of the Robert Lewis stuff, and they said just 24 weeks of it's too long. So they broke it down into 6 series, 6 weeks each. And it's a little video. You watch the video or you can do it, whatever. But 33 is amazing. I've been hearing, I know down in Louisiana, I mean, they've had as many as 400 guys show up a night, and at one just from the local area and stuff. It's amazing of what's going on down there with 33. Dusek stuff is good. Like I said, 33 is good. I'll send you boot camp. Boot camp, you pick and choose what you want. I don't sell anything. I give it away. I'm like Ramos, here, you need something here, But I would
follow up with a question on that then. And my theory on this was if I could get these men to see the need that we need each other. We're going to die if we ain't got each other. And that was and I thought, well, if I can get them to see that and then instead of, they need to hear other things than the theology of John Ball. They need to hear the other people. And I'm thinking if I could get them to see the need of men in their lives, then we could build this youth ministry. Am I on the right track on that?
Yeah, 33 has a clip, and it totally changed the face of what we did, okay? And 33 has a clip in it. It's a group of guys that are sitting around together. They've been in a men's group. And they were talking about the power of their men's group, of having men, okay? So one of the guys in the group, he had a death in the family. And he talks about is he said, I had men standing there at my door with me. I had men right here. Another guy made a bad decision, okay? Looking at jail time and everything else. None of these men walked away from him. It is powerful. I mean, it is just a powerful clip of exactly what you're talking about. And one of the things that I can tell you from experience, and I've seen it too many times, is when one guy and he finds those 2, those 3, those 4, those 5 guys, and he starts building community, building relationships, and that become a band of brothers, man. I'm gonna tell you what, I mean, it's amazing. Yeah. It is absolutely amazing. And then what happens is you start seeing it kind of do this in other places. You start seeing it, you might see it over here. One of the things that I like to teach is in everything you have going on where you have men in your church, there's an opportunity for group. Parking lot attendants, if you have those, if you have ushers, if you have men doing kids church, if you have kids doing kids ministry, whatever else, wherever you have men, you have an opportunity for men to get together. So what we do is we challenge men who are ushers to get to church 30 minutes early. The men get together, they do a quick devotional, and they go out and they serve. Okay. So we meet men where they are. All right. Wherever we have a group of men, we try to get these guys to get there 15 minutes early, 30 minutes early, whatever the case is, do a devotional together, do something together. And what we see is we start seeing this community start to happen. Does it happen in everything? No, it doesn't. But it happens a lot. It happens more than we know. The guys that play on the worship team, if you have a worship team, whatever it is, when you get these guys together, they start finding out, hey, your life's really not that much different than mine. So you struggle at work too? Oh, you want to kill your kids sometime? It's these guys, they don't put the church face on anymore. I was doing a group and I was in a second floor and I was standing at the window one day. You ever get that little God prick? And so I just stood over at the window and I was watching guys come in church. And I don't know about you probably have never had this, but on the way to church, one of the worst times for Satan to attack is before you leave and the whole way there. Okay. And Satan is just, so you see him pulling in the parking lot, you just see this going on, both sides look like Luann and Gomer, Sergeant Carter and Gomer, like that. So I was standing at the window and I saw a couple of them come in and they get out of the car and they each respectively go grab their own kid and get their kid out, and come walking across the parking lot like perfect day at church again, here we go. And I'm standing at the window watching them, all of this stuff going on, slamming doors and everything else. They get up in the room up there and I go, a couple of you had a rough ride here, didn't you? And you should have seen their faces. I said, I'm standing at the window watching y'all guys. I said, come on, man. I said, it doesn't have to be that way. And so, it's just an opportunity as a teaching time. And so, I know we've kind of hit all of this today and I just really wanted to touch the pastor, but the pastor is that guy. Next week, we're going to talk about teams, okay, building a team. And I want you to think about is really when you do whatever you do in your church, do it with excellence. Just do it with excellence. And I tell the guys all the time, I says, guys, God deserves our excellence in men's ministry because God gave his son. He gave us his best. He deserves us to give him our best when it comes to reaching the very people, the very guys that he gave his best for. So I just challenge you to find those 2 or 3 guys in your church and just start, hey, let's get a cup of coffee. Let's chat. This is what God's been putting on my heart. And I just want to run it by you and see if it pricks your heart too. And if he says no, go to another guy. Hey, let's get a cup of coffee. Let's go get breakfast. Let's just chat. Okay. Leave your big King James table Bible at home and just sit across from him and just share your heart. And it's amazing. It's amazing of what you will see happen. And a lot of you weren't on the call last week, and I'll tell you this story really quick. I did a men's training in Hartford. On Friday night, I didn't have anything to do on that Saturday morning. But Friday night, I got a call from one of the local pastors there, and the local pastor, he said, hey, so would you do me a favor? What are you doing? And I said, I'm just going to be hanging around a hotel room. He said, would you come to my church? And I said, sure. I said, what do you want me to talk about? He said, I'll tell you when you get here. That's never good, guys. Okay, it's never good. I walk in the room, and there were 12 guys, 13 counting him, 14 counting me, and the youngest guy sitting at the table was 68 years old. You know what he asked me? He said, tell these guys how to reach the next generation. He said, our church is divided into two churches, the early service and the late service. He said, and these guys here are one of the most valuable commodities that we have for that next generation. I go, you're exactly right. So we taught those guys that night how to simply have a cup of coffee with another guy. He called me 3 weeks after that, and he said, it is mind-blowing what's happened. Okay? I just challenge you is stop thinking about all of this and just start thinking about right here. And then once you start here, then start building it on out. You know, I know Jay's been doing what he's doing for a long time. He's in a unique situation than a lot of us, okay? And so, you know, not everybody is there. But I can tell you, I've been in churches of 14 people, and in 14 people, that men's ministry, and 14 people, we still had a men's ministry. It was only 3 of us, but we still had a men's ministry. So I don't know where you're at, but I just, you know, so any questions, thoughts, comments? The floor is open.
I have one. You brought up, you know, whatever we do with excellence.
Mm-hmm.
Does anybody remember a book? It's been out for many years, probably 30 years, 40 years maybe now, by Chuck Swindoll, Living Beyond Mediocrity?
Mm-mm.
No?
I don't.
Okay. It was one of the couple of lines that you said about excellence. Mm-hmm. Okay. He covers all that. He's taken us from just being mediocre to raising that bar up where Christ has it. We're not going to be Christ, but we need to have a high standard and try to do better.
Right.
And it was just a really good book.
That's good.
The title again?
Anything?
Living Beyond Mediocrity by, I think it was Chuck Swindoll. Chuck Swindoll's a former Marine, right? Yeah, that's what it was.
So anything else?
I feel like I'm stealing the floor here. Oh, go ahead.
I wanted to point out one thing Rick said a while ago, especially to you, John, is you got to remember you don't have to knock it out of the park every time either. I mean, with everything, because I'm kind of mentoring another men's leader here in town, close to our church, and one of the things I noticed him doing, he asked me to come with him to speak at one of his men's breakfasts back last year. Well, when we got there, all he was doing was constantly going out in the parking lot to see if anybody was coming. You know, and I mean, he constantly did that. I finally told him, I said, hey, man, God's going to have here who he wants here. It doesn't matter. He's already set the chairs. It's okay. You know, and I think one of the big things we have to remember is to not keep score. You know, because I'll tell you, we'll have men's events here at my church, and we'll have 60 guys show up. Then then the very next one, there'll be 4. You know, it's just, you just can't ever tell. And you know what? I used to get so bent out of shape over it, and I beat myself up over what am I doing wrong? You know what you probably need to do? Just like Rick said, find one guy. If you find one guy in that church that you can meet with and he gets it and y'all can sit there and share with each other, guess what you're doing? The 2 of you are building up. And you know, where it used to be just you, now there's one more. You said, you know, you see what I'm saying? And then the 2 of y'all can go out and get somebody else. I think that's the best part of it. You just got to quit keeping score. And I'll tell you, I quit keeping score a long time ago.
Well, so did I. I'm way past that. The wounded John used to be like that, but no, that's God's department. If I invite whatever, that's not. really, honest to God, that's not even an issue for me anymore. I've got a question about when God gives us passions in certain areas and our giftedness, how that works in my giftedness, evangelism. My passion is the fatherless and father wounds, and bringing men to understand the freedom of healing, of forgiveness. And as a matter of fact, I'm setting up a seminar for early next May. In doing that, there's a guy that's going to help me, John Finch from Texas. He's going to help me on that, and no, I'm way past the keeping score deal, but I'm wondering, sometimes I do wonder if the giftedness and passions that God's given me, if it's not so much fine-tuned that I'm an asset to the men's ministry, but not so much a leader of that. I'm wondering about that sometimes. And I'm good either way, completely good either way.
I mean, like I said, everybody, we talked about this a little bit last week, is everybody in a church has their own sphere of influence. And that's why the advantages is starting with 1 and 2 and 3, because everybody has a sphere of influence. Like I said, the pastor, he said, we found a guy that was like 40 years old. He had the passion. He knew a lot of names. We put him in men's ministry. Okay. And then I did this, And so that's that's the advantages of building this. We're going to talk about teams next week and things like that, and how you multiply a men's ministry. But like I said, everybody in your church has a sphere of influence. So when you find the one, he's got a sphere of influence. When you find the two, he has a sphere of influence. And so, so many times we look for men's leaders in all the wrong places. And they're right there. They've been right there the whole time. You give me a guy that has come out of brokenness, out of hurt, out of pain, you're talking about a tremendous men's ministry leader, because he's going to be able to relate to the guys that are coming in. And the other part is we have a lot of men's ministry leaders that have been doing this for a long time, and they have forgotten what it was like the day they walked through the door for the very first time. Don't ever forget that. Don't ever forget that. That is a powerful moment for you, and it's a powerful moment for those men that you're going to get to minister to. So, anything else?
I put some links within the chat here for you guys to the 33 series, Rex's email address, and the book Living Above the Level of Mediocrity. So that link to Amazon for that too. So if you're wanting those resources, so.
How do we get those?
Are you on a computer or a phone?
Computer.
Well, there should be a chat down on the bottom. You'll see a little thing that says chat on your screen.
It should have a little red circle.
Oh yeah, sure. Yep.
Yeah.
Go ahead and click on it and it'll open up.
My chat notes that I sent you guys. The link to that 33 series, I just put the e-blast together. It's going out tomorrow, and that link's in there as well, because we did a podcast with Robert Lewis. And so we have a ton of links to his stuff through there in the 33.
That was a great podcast, by the way.
Yeah.
Yes, it was.
I was excited when I heard Robert Lewis is going to be on there. I said, "Oh,
I just got my book yesterday, so I'm trying to raise a 6-year-old with trauma." So
any other questions or anything? We're almost out of time, and I want to. I mean, we hit a whole lot of stuff. When we're gonna start narrowing down now. We're gonna start really putting the process into place now. Okay.
Good stuff, you guys. First time on here, and I'm I got a lot of notes. So
awesome.
What I may do.
Also, I missed last week and the week before, but thank you all so much. Thank you, Rex. Thank you, Dale, and everybody that had inputs. It's awesome. John, yourself, and Jay, and everybody. Just, it was really good. I appreciate this group.
I think I think based on what we have, since we have guys all over the place, Dale, I think I'm going to send you a handout. It's called 16 Principles. It's what we created for Iron Sharpens Iron.
Okay. 16
Principles of an Effective Men's Ministry. And I think it will cover everything from that I saw. The only thing it won't cover is one of the questions, and do y'all, maybe it was somebody else, what to do if you have a bad team member. Is that any of y'all? We'll talk about that too. But yeah, I mean, that was one of the questions that guys were asking last week is what do you do when you have a guy that, is not on the team? So, yeah. All right. And if you have any questions or anything, send them to Dale, send them to me or whatever, and we'll make sure that we get these things covered, because it doesn't do any good if we're not answering your questions. If we're not answering your questions and doing the things like that, it's not doing us any good. It's not doing you any good either. So,
right. And I just want to say, Men in the Arena does have curriculum, but we want you guys to use what's going to best use or for your guys. So if that's Rex, that's awesome. If it's David Dusek, that's awesome. Or 33 series with Authentic Manhood. Our goal is for men to get it. And so whether it's ours or someone else's, it doesn't matter. If we're going to get men together, we've accomplished our goals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you go to the website, if there's anything you see on the website you want, email, I'll PDF it to you, so. All right.
Thanks for the invite.
Yep. Let's close in prayer. Somebody feel led to close in prayer. And hey, Jay, put your hat back on, man. Sorry, man. I couldn't pass that up.
My granny was telling me to pray with your hat on, the devil get you.
Oh, no, take your hat off then. I don't want the devil to get you.
I think Jay wants to pray for us.
Go ahead, Jay.
Okay. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you now, Father, just praising you for being our God, praising you for being our Savior. And Lord, I thank you that to have the opportunity to gather with these men this afternoon. I pray for each one here and the specific need that they have. I ask you, Father, Lord, to please meet that need. We expect you to meet it, Lord. We expect you to. We expect your answers to prayer. And Father, we ask you to help us be the best man that we can be, so that we can reach other men for you, so that we can be in your service. I pray for each men's minister here and ask them that they are able to answer the specific calling that you give them. Bless their churches, bless their pastors, and bless this ministry, Father, this Man in the Arena ministry. I thank you for it, because that's what's gotten us together today. But we ask you to continue to bless all of the ministries that are represented here, Father. Thank you so much, Father, for being our Lord, for being our Savior. For these things I pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.